The gym was alive with noise, metal clanged, sneakers squeaked on rubber mats, and music thundered from the speakers. Heavy bass and adrenaline-pumping beats that echoed through every wall mirrors reflected dozens of bodies in motion. Men grunting under barbells, women counting reps, trainers shouting encouragement. The air smelled of sweat, chalk, and ambition. In the far corner, where the light didn't quite reach, a girl named Lena Hart trained quietly. Almost invisibly, she came every evening at the same hour, always wearing the same oversized hoodie, black leggings, and old running shoes that had long lost their shine. She tied her brown hair in a messy knot and wore no headphones, no makeup, and no expression. She moved with focus, not speed, lifting, stretching, resting, like someone who knew exactly what she was building but had no need to announce it. Most people at the gym didn't know. Her name, they called her the Quiet Girl, or sometimes mockingly Mouse, and the name stuck, especially with Trent Walker and his friends, the so-called gym bros. Trent was everything Lena wasn't: tall, broad-shouldered, loud, and proud of it. His arms looked like they'd been carved from concrete, and his reflection in the mirror was his favorite view. He'd swagger in with his crew, two guys named Rick and Mason, high-fiving, shouting, and turning every lift into a performance. Where Lena came for discipline, they came for dominance. For weeks they'd noticed her a girl who said nothing, smiled at no one, and trained harder than some of the guys, but instead of respect, they felt something else: the need to show her who ruled the gym. That Friday night, the gym buzzed with energy. The regulars had gathered, watching Trent attempt a new personal record. On the bench, 315 pounds, sweat glistened down his temple as he pushed through his last rep, barely locking out his elbows. The room erupted in cheers. He stood, flexing his arms and grinning wide, eating up the attention. Then his gaze shifted to the corner, where Lena was quietly loading a barbell with smaller plates. Trent nudged Rick. "Check her out again. Man, the Mouse thinks she's training for a powerlifting meet or something." Rick chuckled. "Maybe she's gonna challenge you next." Bro, Lena didn't even look their way. She slid a 25-pound plate onto each side, adjusted the bar, and began her set. Slow, perfect form, back straight, core tight. Every rep looked like control sculpted into motion, but that calmness irritated Trent. People were supposed to react to him, laugh at his jokes, glance at his physique, notice him. She never did. It was like he didn't exist. He grabbed his shaker bottle, walked over to the water fountain, and noticed her pink water bottle sitting on the ledge beside her towel. He picked it up, weighing it in his palm with a smirk. "Hey, Mouse," he called out, loud enough for everyone around to hear. No answer. "Yo, Mouse," he said again, stepping closer. "You gonna lift or take a nap in that hoodie?" Lena set her bar down gently and finally looked up. Her eyes were calm, not scared, not angry, just unreadable. "I'm lifting," she said softly. Her voice was quiet, almost drowned out by the music. Trent laughed. "You sure looks like warm-up weight. My grandma lifts more than that." Rick and Mason snickered behind him. The laughter made a few others turn their heads. Small crowd began to notice. Lena didn't respond. She wiped her hands on a towel and walked toward the water fountain to refill her bottle. Trent followed her, spinning the pink bottle in his hand. "This yours?" he asked, though he already knew. She nodded. "Once you sure you need water after that workout?" He tilted it teasingly. "You barely broke a sweat then." Before she could answer, he tossed it lightly toward Mason. Mason caught it, pretending to juggle it. "Yo, careful, it's got protein for mice." More laughter. Lena's eyes followed the bottle. Her expression didn't change, but something in her posture did. A subtle stillness, like a bow being drawn but not released. Trent gestured at Mason. "Go long." Mason grinned and threw the bottle across the floor. It bounced once, rolled under a heavy bench, and clattered to a stop beneath the barbell rack. The laughter roared. Rick slapped Trent on the shoulder. "Man, you're savage." For a moment, Lena stood perfectly still. The gym seemed to fade around her. The music, the noise, the laughter, until there was only the echo of the bottle hitting the floor. Then she walked. Each step was slow and deliberate, her shoes tapping softly against the rubber mat. She crouched beside the bench, reached under it, and pulled the bottle out. The cap had popped open. A trickle of water ran down her fingers. She twisted it shut, wiped it off with her sleeve, and set it neatly beside the rack. Trent crossed his arms, expecting a reaction. Maybe anger, maybe tears, something, but she didn't even look at him. Instead, she began sliding plates onto the empty bar. 145, then another, then 2 25 seconds. The bar grew heavier, louder, As the steel clinked together, the laughter around them died. People turned, even the trainer. At the front desk leaned over to watch. Rick frowned. What's she doing? Trent smirked, though his tone had lost a bit of confidence trying to impress. Us? I guess. Lena tightened the collars, rolled her shoulders, and lay down beneath the bar, her fingers wrapped around the knurled steel, positioning perfectly. Her feet planted firmly, back arched slightly, the form of someone who'd done this countless times. Yo, you better not. Hurt yourself, mouse, Trent called out, half mocking, half nervous. That's a lot of weight for you, She didn't answer. She just glanced toward him and said, softly, then spot me. The words hung in the air like a challenge. No, one expected. Trent froze for the first time. The quiet girl had spoken directly to him, and her tone wasn't pleading, it was calm, sharp, and certain. Rick gave him a shove. Come on, bro. Spot her. Let's see this. Trent laughed, trying to play it cool, but there was tension in his jaw. All right, mouse, you asked for it. He walked behind the bench, hands ready. The gym had gone silent except for the low hum of the air conditioner. Dozens of eyes watched Lena inhale deeply. Her grip tightened, her arms flexed, and with a smooth, deliberate motion, she lifted the bar off the rack. Steady, no shake, no struggle. The plates gleamed under the lights as the bar descended toward her chest. Everyone leaned in, and just before she pressed, Trent realized something unsettling. Her form was flawless, her focus unbreakable. She wasn't guessing at the weight, she knew exactly what she could do. He swallowed hard, suddenly aware that, maybe, just maybe, they had picked the wrong person to mock. Trent's hands hovered nervously behind the barbell, palms open, ready to catch it. Though a part of him didn't really expect he'd need to. He thought Lena might strain, struggle, maybe even drop it and prove his point. But as the bar dipped and rose with eerie control, his smirk faded. 1 rep, 2, 3, each lift looked effortless, precise and silent. The gym that had always been a thunderstorm of grunts and shouts now felt like a held breath. Trent stared. He muttered under his breath. Lena didn't flinch. Her eyes stayed fixed on the ceiling, her breathing steady. The steel bar glided like a pendulum, rhythm and power balanced in one motion. The plates clinked faintly each time they touched the rack pins, like punctuation marks in a language only she spoke. By the 5th rep, sweat had begun to bead on Trent's forehead. Not from exertion, but from disbelief. He glanced sideways and saw the faces of others gathering. Rick, Mason, the front desk trainer, even the regulars who usually ignored everything not involving a mirror. Lena was commanding the room. Without saying a word, she finished her set at 8 reps with one final exhale. She racked the bar smoothly, sat up, and brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. The silence was heavy, even the music had faded into background noise. Trent forced a laugh, trying to break the tension. Okay, that was, not bad. You got some strength, for a little thing. But his voice cracked slightly, and everyone heard it. Lena reached for her towel, wiped her hands, and looked at him, not with pride or anger, just quiet focus. I told you to spot me, she said not to talk. That line hit harder than the weights. Few people chuckled nervously. Trent's neck flushed red. He stepped back, trying to regain his swagger. Hey, don't get cocky, all right? That was like what? 200 pounds. I lift more than that to warm up. Lena tilted her head slightly. Eyes. Calm, then prove it. Now that got everyone's attention. Rick's eyes went. Yo, Trent. She's calling you out, man. Someone else from the crowd whistled. Phones quietly came out, ready to record. Trent hesitated. He didn't want to look scared, but something about her composure, the way she didn't laugh, didn't gloat, didn't need to, made him uneasy. Fine, he said, forcing a grin. Let's see who's the real lifter here. He slid under the same bar, still loaded with the same plates she'd just benched. He didn't notice that Lena had kept her eyes on the bar the entire time, checking balance, ensuring safety. Her discipline was surgical. His was reckless pride. Trent grabbed the bar. Spot me, mouse, he said, trying to sound smug again. Lena nodded once and stood behind him. Her fingers hovered near the bar, same as he had done moments ago, but her face remained unreadable. Trent inhaled sharply, pressed the bar off the rack, and immediately his arms shook. The weight wasn't light. He hadn't recovered from his earlier set, and his ego had jumped into something. His muscles weren't ready for the bar. Wobbled, lowering unevenly. His chest strained, veins bulging on his arms. The smirk disappeared. Panic flashed across his face. Spot, he gasped before the word was fully out. Lena's hands were already under the bar, her grip tightened, and with controlled precision. She guided the weight up. With him still holding it, she lifted it like it was nothing. Her back straightened, her arms solid as stone, the veins in her forearms bulged slightly, but her expression didn't change, calm, focused, effortless. The bar rose to his chest level, and she leaned close enough that he could hear her whisper, 200 pounds. Right. Trent swallowed hard, unable to answer. Then, slowly, she helped rack the bar, the clang of steel. Meeting steel echoed through the silent gym like a bell marking defeat. Trent sat up, red-faced and panting, avoiding her gaze. Rick and Mason didn't laugh. This time, the crowd around them murmured softly, half in shock, half in awe. Lena stepped aside, picked up her bottle, the same one they'd thrown earlier, and took a small sip. Then she said quietly, "You lift with noise. I lift with purpose." The room stayed frozen. The trainer finally broke the silence, clapping once. "Damn impressive form, Lena, that was textbook A." Few people started nodding, then came light applause. It grew louder, genuine, not mocking. Some smiled, some just stared in disbelief. Trent rubbed the back of his neck, standing awkwardly. "Hey, nice job," he muttered. Lena nodded politely. "Thank you." She didn't gloat, didn't smirk, didn't even look back. As she walked toward the free weight section, the crowd slowly dispersed. But the whispers followed her like a quiet storm. "Who is she? She just benched 200 like it was nothing. Did you see how calm she was within an hour?" Her name spread across the gym. By the next day, it was on everyone's lips. Lena, the quiet girl, had become something else entirely. Trent, however, couldn't shake what happened that night. He stayed late, trying to beat her record. He added weight after weight, grunting, yelling, forcing himself past fatigue, but every time the bar came down heavy on his chest, he saw her eyes. That calm, steady gaze that didn't need to prove anything. He realized what had stung him wasn't the strength. It was the silence. She hadn't humiliated him with words. She'd let his arrogance destroy itself. Days turned into weeks. The mockery stopped. No one called her mouse anymore. She became known as the Iron Queen, the one who lifted more than most men but never bragged, never showed off, and never forgot her form. One afternoon, Trent approached her again. She was at the squat rack adjusting plates. "Hey," he said quietly, "about that day. I was a jerk. I'm sorry." Lena looked at him, then back at the barbell. "Apology accepted." He hesitated. "You ever train people?" She smiled faintly. "Sometimes." He nodded. "Maybe you could, teach me a few things." She handed him a pair of smaller plates. "Start with these." She said, "It's not about the weight, it's about control." He followed her instruction, humbled and quiet for the first time in his life. And from that day, something changed. In the gym's atmosphere, the laughter became lighter, the mockery faded, and the energy shifted. Respect replaced ego, all because one quiet girl decided not to fight with anger or noise, but with silence, strength, and perfect form.